Hello, today I'm building in Moonwood Mill, and it is a one bedroom, one bathroom, swampy cabin build, and it costs around like just over 45,000 simoleons. I've been wanting to put more details about the build at the start of the video. And so yeah, this is also on Prowler's Patch, which is a 30 by 30 lot, and it is mostly landscaping because the house is very small inside, which is usually how most of my houses are. I think I just naturally build 1 to 2 bedrooms normally, but I did build a family home like a few days ago because I'd seen someone say that they wish that they could use my builds for like a family legacy, and I was like, okay, I always like trying to build a large house, uh, because it doesn't come naturally to me. But I feel like that is going to be next week's video. It's pretty much done. I finished the whole exterior. I just had to furnish it. But usually my larger houses aren't furnished that much. I put way more clutter into small ones. That's just how it goes, though, because there's not as much space. So I could just put way more into it. And I'm not feeling like very chatty today, so I don't know how this voiceover is going to go. I'm like, I don't have a lot to say today. But this build was originally going to be last week's build for the Builder's Best Collection collab, which is you build something that I guess represents your style, and it could be anything you want. And I really was trying to focus mostly on the landscaping because I feel like that is kind of like the standout for my build style. I know that I've had people tell me that they could look at my build and they could tell that it's mine, and I don't know what parts of it does that. Like, I don't know if there's something about the shape or the exterior walls or something, but to me at least, I feel like a good representation of my build style and how I like to build it is through the landscaping. And so that was like my main focus for this build, and I was just putting shapes around really and trying to make it look aesthetically pleasing to my eye at least for the build, and that's usually how I approach my original shells for it. And so I just did a kind of what would that be? It's not even a river. Is it like a pond or like a lake maybe perhaps? And I just framed it around the lot, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to do a cute little bridge over the more narrow piece of it, and I'm just going to go from there." And I knew I wanted the house to be sitting slightly over the water, and so I made the left side hanging over the water a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, that would be a great area to do very large windows." But the windows I use, they feel very modern, and that's not something that I'm really used to in my builds. And so it's it threw me off a lot. Hold on. I was turning my fan off because I can't really tell if it's picking up or not. So I'll turn it back on when I end up pausing in this recording, and I'll listen and see if the fan was on. But yeah, I was really struggling to figure out where I wanted the height to be in this build, and I liked the two towers I had, and I felt like I wanted another piece, but I didn't want another round piece. And while I was editing this, I was just like, Megan, it really didn't need another tower. It probably was fine without it. And the towers really don't have that much useful stuff in it. I feel like I like to treat towers as bonus hobby rooms that if someone downloads this, they can put an item in there that they need or something. I think some of the towers, I have an office, and then another tower, it's a pantry, and then the rest are just a bunch of plants and almost like a greenhouse. I have a couple of planters where you could plant seeds in it, but most of it is just decorative plants just scattered around each tower, which It fills up the space enough to make it seem like I put some effort into the towers, but it's also easy to delete the items for whatever you want to use the towers for. Looking back at this build though, like I don't know why I was so against this build. I feel like when I build something, I'll usually like it at first, and then when I take a step away, I start to overthink things. And I was like, I can't use this for that collab. It's not good enough. And then when I was like looking back at it, I was just like, no, like I really do like the exterior of it. And again, I'm like, if you watched last week's video, I did mention that I felt like the interior of this one wasn't really like my usual thing, and I was finding it difficult. And so I wanted to make something that was more witchy and like have that be part of the collab, because this one isn't witchy at all. There's no cauldron or anything. It definitely feels like it has like more of like a contemporary feel compared to some of my usual builds, and it is literally just because of the window choice that I made. And it was just throwing me off so much. But this was the first build that I was using the Love Struck pack in, and, like, I don't know, I was just, like, picking out furniture that was in, like, a style that I'm just not completely used to for myself, but the interior is still nice. It's, like, a nice interior, and I definitely think it has elements of, like, myself in it. I keep having to, like, pause because I keep just, like, randomly coughing, um, but back in this area of the build, I decided that I wanted to try and do, like, a gazebo area and just, like, fill it up with a bunch of, like, plants and stuff, and I really do like the gazebo area in the back, and I end up creating a pathway leading out from, like, I guess it's the kitchen, and there's like a stone path that leads over to it. I did notice that when I was playtesting some of it, the Sims decide to walk slightly in the water instead of following my pathway, which I guess is fine. Maybe they just want to like get their feet wet, I guess. But yeah, I like the gazebo in the back, and I was like trying just alternating fence pieces throughout. Like I did that with the bridge too. Like I don't know, I think I might have done it already. I used some gates as well on the bridge just to like make it look a little bit different. So I used like metal gates mixed in with both of these sorts of wooden fences, which is like the horse ranch one with the cottage living. And see, like I don't know if it was a smart choice, but I was like feeling it in the moment, and so I kind of like stuck with it. And I'm sure that it might annoy some people that the fences are not the same height. So the cottage living one is slightly higher than the horse ranch one, which is something that I don't mind personally. I like mismatched stuff, so that like works for me. And I have this other raised up area mostly just to create some sort of definition in the landscaping, and I thought it would look nice just having like another standout piece. And I guess like right now I'm thinking, oh yeah, I probably put some trees up there to like create more layers in the landscape. But we'll see if I actually put trees up there. Okay, I put a rock up there at least. Um, is that the one from Realm of Magic, or is that werewolves? I feel like that might be werewolves, but I've been using the Realm of Magic rocks ever since I was following. Oh, well, not following. Well, I am following, but I was watching Anna Sims builds on Twitch, and she uses the Realm of Magic rocks, those ones, in a really beautiful way. And she also uses tool to rotate them and things like that. But I really like just like how like magical the rocks look. They kind of even look like trees in a way to me, just like the way that they curve. And so I've been using that in some of my more recent builds. Like my first build with them is for Shell Challenge that I still haven't finished. Um it's for Simly Sash's Shell Challenge, which was originally going to be, I think, next week's video, but I am almost sure that I'm going to do my like family witch house instead because it's practically done. Um, and it shouldn't take me too long to edit. The only issue is that I might have like jury duty, and I'm really like anxious about it. And I'm like hoping like not. But we'll definitely see how much time I'll have or how much energy I'll have. It should be okay. I think I should have enough time to edit a video. This one, I kind of edited it very early in the week. I guess I was feeling very inspired. Sometimes I get into like moods where I just sit down and I edit like for a very long time, and I'll like edit multiple things because I do have like a whole bunch of build videos that I'm currently like working on, which has been overwhelming me, which I've said before that I have so many, and I really need to start like finishing them so that I don't have as much like in my like backlog of like what I need to do, because I do like to be able to start new builds when I'm feeling inspired to. But if I have like a build that's half finished, sometimes I find it difficult to like get back into the flow of it when I do pick it back up, which will hopefully I could get through them. I just have to like take it a day at a time. I did have like a tarot reading that was like encouraging me to um be okay with like taking things slow and taking more breaks for myself and finding like a balance between like doing stuff that I really love and like making sure that I have the energy to continue without like overdoing it, which did happen to me at the start of the year. I've been feeling a lot like more inspired lately, and so like editing hasn't been a pain. Like at one point, because I really do like editing, I like just like watching something and just like editing a video to it. But like I don't know, at one point I was just so burnt out that I couldn't even bring myself to do that. But luckily it's like I'm burnt out in other ways in other areas of my life, but not in Sims building or in like making videos, which is good because I feel like it definitely helps me to like feel productive in some way. But yeah, I was putting different things on the roof of this build because I was just trying out different things. So I have like debug fence pieces poking out. And I had like an archway at the like top too, because I thought that it would just like, I don't know, look cute and look more like worn down, which maybe was also throwing me off that I made the exterior look like this and then the interior looks very like um newly renovated and furnished. But it could be that this house is just old and someone bought it and they're like, that the outside's fine, there's nothing wrong with it. I'll just like make the inside to like look how I want it to, and so the inside has like a different sort of vibe for it. I also realize I struggle with builds when I use that werewolf door. Like I real like it looks cute from here, but every time I go inside of a build when I use that front door, like the gray wood werewolf door, I find it so hard to furnish it, and that is exactly what was happening to me the entire time. Also, while I was taking pictures, I noticed that when I go down to the first floor of the build, there are like these bookcases that poke out of the towers, but when I go up a floor it's not there, and so I didn't really notice, but I felt like it wasn't that big of a deal. And literally the furnishing of the interior was centered around those bookcases being in those spots. And so I was like, there's no changing it now. If it just cuts through the wall, then it cuts through the wall at that point. But yeah, I add like different flowers around my usual, just literally my usual items that I always use. Um, I've been using all of those trees all the time. The werewolf's tree stump, which I always have to be careful when I place it, because if I place it too close to the house, it usually makes everything in one room not functional, which I've learned the hard way many times because um for some debug items, if there's no grid, it means that your Sims can walk through it. But if there's a grid, um, then there's going to be problems. And usually the grid of that werewolf stump that's in the water, if the grid touches the house in any way, your Sims just can't use any of the items, which feels very strange. It's like one of those things where you're like, you should be able to walk through because technically the stump is so far away from the house, but the game is like, no, but the grid is there, so you can't use your stove, and now you're gonna spend 10 minutes play testing and you're not gonna know what's in the way. But now I've learned this over time that that's the item that usually causes it for me. Um, yeah, and then I just place a whole bunch of ivy in different places, tall grass, and just trying to fill up the space a little bit. I was a bit concerned placing some of the grass near the house because I was like, I don't know, is that going to make it not functional? And I don't remember if I play tested the bathroom, like that piece with the stained glass window in the front that ends up being the bathroom. And I don't remember if I play tested it or not. I think I assumed that it would be functional. So hopefully it all works. I did play test parts of it. I don't remember what I play tested and what I didn't play test at this point. I do remember that I didn't upload this to the gallery yet though, so I'll do one more like round of just like testing things out to make sure that they work before I upload it. Because I always forget that sometimes, because normally I don't upload to the gallery until usually like the day before my speed build. So normally I do it on like Sundays. I'll upload it to the gallery. If I forget, it'll be Monday, and if I really forget, it'll be someone asked me if it's on the gallery, and I'm like, I run to my computer, and I'm like, yeah, it's on the gallery. But yeah, sometimes my brain just doesn't remember some things. Um, but yeah, I really like the back of the house now that I'm looking at it in like the video. I love those stained glass windows and Realm of Magic windows, sometimes hard to work with because they don't match a lot. And I do use G Shade, and that does make it easier to match swatches. But I feel like if I turned it off, it wouldn't be that big of a deal anyway. Um, I think at this point in this game, people kind of understand that the swatches, you just need to like pretend that some of them match correctly, or else you're going to be like stuck using the same combination of like things over and over again, which to me I don't want to do. I don't want to have to use the same things. I like to like occasionally branch out and try mixing different things together. Like I feel like this blend of windows isn't something I've ever done. I have those like floor to ceiling windows that feel very modern, and then I have like the base game bay window, which I don't use that window much, but it is really pretty. I just like smacked my desk with I'm like currently holding a like iPhone stand, and I'm just like playing with it while I'm talking, and I just like slammed it against my desk, and now I got myself distracted. But yeah, the base game, I use a lot of base game windows on these walls, which I it just happened that way. I don't know. I don't know. I guess they just spoke to me when I was doing it, and there's a lot of base game windows. I'm pretty sure that those like large modern windows are base game as well. Um, they are like again, they're brown on like the exterior, but then they're like a black metal on the interior, which threw me off a lot. And I do like hide some of it with curtains, at least in the living room. So like the piece like that you could see from here where the stairs are, that ends up having like a couch over there, and it's just like a little living room area. But then the other section that has those windows ends up being the bedroom. And I feel like it would be such a nice like bedroom, like you're laying in bed and you can look out at the swamp around, and it's like if it feels like it would be nice in like real life, but it definitely looked a little bit strange when I was decorating it. It was making it difficult for myself to like what I was doing with it. But this is the gazebo part, and I really like how this area turned out, and I like the clutter and the different plants that I used. I was able to use a lot of different ones that I don't normally get to use, mostly if they're like kind of too large, or if they're like those ferns. It's kind of hard to place those against a wall, and so I don't really get to use them much. And so I got to use them here. I do end up putting a fireplace out here. I use the like wood burning stove one, I think. out here because I realized I didn't have a fireplace and I had 3 chimneys and I was like, I need to have the chimney smoke coming out if I have 3 chimneys on this build, and I couldn't really find a spot to put a like fireplace in, and so I was like, oh, it would look really nice to have one out in the gazebo. So I moved some of the plants around so that there could be a fireplace, and I was very scared that a fire would start when I was taking the video because the fire is very close to all of those plants out there, but it seemed okay. And once again, there is no fire alarm in this build, so that would have been bad. And I would have hoped that I wouldn't have had to redecorate some areas. I know you can replace some when they burn. I think you can replace most objects if they burn just by clicking on it. So maybe I'm overreacting a little bit. But this area, this is what I was talking about, where the bookcases kind of poke out when you go like I don't know, when you change the like floor, like the level of the house, but not always. And so I kind of just had to accept that that was going to happen because I had done the whole floor plan based around that exact bookcases where the 2 bookcases are on either side of a door and the door leads to a stair, like not a staircase, a ladder that leads up to the towers, and that's just the whole point of the interior of the build. So I wasn't changing it. Yeah, I was struggling a little bit with the floor plan. It felt like I didn't have enough space and I was like, "Oh, like this build is a lot smaller than I thought." And I was like, "Oh, I wanted that room to the left to be a study." But I was like, that needs to be the bedroom because I don't know where else to put the bedroom. Like clearly the build has to be you walk in and then you get to the living room, and off of the living room is like the kitchen slash dining space. And so like sometimes I like to have a separate dining room. Like normally that's usually what I try and do. With this one, there was just no space to have a separate dining room. I do like section off the kitchen a little bit from the table. So the table is going to be by that bay window. And then it's like the kitchen is right in front of it. But I do use walls and columns to kind of divide the space a little bit, even though it is still technically one room. And then there's just an odd hallway that leads to the back door and also leads to another ladder, which that ladder goes up to the pantry. Because again, I was like, what room can possibly be off of the kitchen that you go up the ladder? And so I was like, okay, I'll just do a pantry up there. It would be kind of inconvenient if you need to go get some ingredients, especially like say you need like a giant bag of flour or something, you got to carry that down the ladder. Maybe they have, those things where you like can like lower it with like rope or something. Maybe that's what they use. So you could just pretend that that's what they do because your Sims, they're not getting ingredients up there. It's just all for show anyway. But yeah, now you could see that gray werewolf door, front door, throws me off every single time. And it was at this point I was just like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And I was like, I like that couch, but I'm like, this is feeling more like modern than I usually go for. And then I was like, I'll just put some antique furniture around. And yeah, see, I guess I was trying to put a fireplace in, and I just didn't know where to put it. And then this is me picking it back up after Love Struck came out, and those are the new curtains in the expansion pack, and this is some of the new clutter. And I was looking at the bed. That's like my favorite bed. But and this is also a point where I didn't have my mods updated, and I was just like, oh, I can't use tool mod to make this rug smaller. And then I'm pretty sure I give up again briefly after, and then I like come back days later when I have tool mod updated and I size down the rug a little bit. But this was like my first look at some of the items in the pack, and this is where I fell in love with this painting of this girl in the blue dress who I'm like, I love her. She's definitely a ghost, and I want to build a house for her, which I said last week anyway in my other video. But that's like the exact moment I was like, I love this painting. So that painting is going in all of my builds. it's just like the perfect painting, and it's just like adds just enough color to a room, especially when I usually use just a lot of wood and just like brown wood. That's normally what my builds consist of, and I don't usually use blues, and I think that painting is encouraging me to like put blue into my build, because usually my pops of color are red or green. Is cream can cream be considered that? But that's like usually what I use is like brown woods, reds, greens, creams. Um, and greens and creams threw me off. I was like, did I say creams twice? Those two words sounded like way too similar in my head. But yeah, the rug is now sized down. I really had to sell myself on that blue rug because again, it was outside of my comfort zone, and I was like, but your friend Vicky, she would use some blue in here. I think she would add some color around this place. That's like I was giving myself a little pep talk while I was convincing myself to keep the rug, and I was like layering it with my other favorite rug from Snowy Escape, which I feel like I probably kept. Right now it feels questionable to me seeing it, but I'm accepting what it looks like. But I do love the windows. I was really trying to cover these windows up a little bit because I thought it was too much for like what I was going for. And I like used the like hanging ivy curtains, and I put some herbs on the window. And I love these paranormal wall lamps, or like the sconces. I love those so much. And I don't think I've used them in blue, which again, I don't really use blue in my builds. I usually use that in yellow. Oh yeah, yellow's another color that I use pretty often in my builds. That's like my other go-to accent color. But like blue complements yellow really well. So occasionally I'll have some blue in my interiors. Um, which I also was using these wallpapers. I usually don't use this cottage living floral wallpaper because I always think it's too much. But I was like, I don't think this is too much. I could use this. It looks great. And I think I use it in my like family home that I'm working on too. And another thing that I don't usually do is make a bathroom that's like larger than 6 tiles. And I was like, wow, it's 3 tiles bigger. I'll be able to like fill it with a whole bunch of bathroom clutter and stuff. And then I kind of placed the stuff around. And I was like, oh, this is a very strange layout because I was like, well, I want a bathtub by the stained glass window. And then I'm like, well, I want my builds to always have a shower because I don't like when I'm doing gameplay, baths just take too long. And like, so I was like, okay, let me get a shower in, but I can't have the like bathtub shower combo because it blocks the stained glass window. And that kind of like threw off the entire bathroom. And I was like, I don't even know how to do this layout. So I just put like a bunch of scattered plants around, and I thought that was good enough. I mean, what else do you really need in a bathroom? But this is the kitchen I was talking about earlier, of how I kind of sectioned it off a little bit, so it definitely makes it really difficult to take pictures of. I'm pretty sure I didn't take a picture of this kitchen at all. It does feel nice and cozy in there, though. I didn't really clutter much, and I end up changing the fences out for walls. I don't know why. I think, oh, it's because I liked the cabinets I was using, and I wanted the cabinets to go all the way around. I'm pretty sure I was using like a special like that piece of the cabinet, and I never get to use that because it's such like an odd counter or like an odd cabinet and usually doesn't work. But I was like, I want to use that. So I'm going to close this all off, and I put some columns in there just to, like make it look a little bit like more put together, I guess. And I just have a very small kitchen table in the corner by this bay window, and I've realized this bay window is a lot easier to place items on than the get together one, which like you could tell that the lighting gets messed up when you place the item outside, so I had to like be careful to make sure the item was placed just at like the edge of it so that the lighting didn't throw off on the item. So I didn't put too much clutter into that space at all. um, I also knew I wouldn't be able to take a very good picture of that area, so it's like, this is okay. I don't need to put a whole lot of effort into this. And if someone plays with this house, the walls down, you won't see anything in the kitchen anyway, so it felt okay. I did put more clutter into the bedroom. I think this is where I put most of like the clutter. I really just stacked up a whole bunch of items on this dresser. And do I think it looks good? No, I think that the balance is kind of off. And I think it doesn't like aesthetically look nice, but I felt like I was like, I want the sim to just have this dresser covered with miscellaneous objects, and it's like kind of messy. That's what I was going for. Even though like the rest of the bedroom's pretty neat, I was like, I just want this to be all stacked up over here. And these are like the windows I was also talking about earlier, where I didn't really like how they look from the inside, and that was throwing me off a little bit. But the view from the bed, it seems like really nice, like waking up and you seeing the swamp out right out there, and you have like your book over there. I line the floor with a bunch of candles and stuff, and I don't put too much clutter on those shelves. You can see I was really trying to like wrap the like shelves around, but I didn't like the flickering that was happening. And the flickering's usually like it's okay in gameplay, but in a speed build, it like when you speed it up, it's obviously going to be way faster flickering. So it's like, I'm not even going to bother with this. I'm just going to have it on just the one wall, which is okay. I used the like pillow from like those free rewards that were out. If you didn't collect that, it would just disappear. It's just I've only ever like I think that's the first time I've ever used an object from the like free login rewards. It's not like a huge part of the decor. I kind of was just looking for stuff to throw around, and I was like, oh, there's a stool. They could sit there, but maybe they want a pillow next to them, which I realized I then put a complete like other chair over there anyway. So I guess they have options. They could sit in the chair with their little book. They could sit on the stool. I don't know. But yeah, I just lined it with books just because it's the easiest thing for me to do. And I was getting thrown off by the windows a little bit. So it's like, I'm just filling up this space. I don't want to spend too much time like raising up different objects and like having it snap to the table below. And now it is just decorating the towers of like all of these areas. Did I decorate the tower above this one? I really don't remember now. I do know that that one was my like office area because I was like, oh, I don't have a computer in this build, and I was going to put that in the bedroom, and the bedroom was going to be an entire office at first until I realized there's not a lot of space for this, and I couldn't make like the rectangle tower a bedroom because I was like, that's right off the kitchen. That's kind of like a weird layout, so I'm just not going to. Okay, I made this tower like a reading area, and I used way more of those pillows, so I'm a liar. Where I was like, it's not like a big part of the build. It's one pillow. It's just decorative, and then I put four of them up here. But I thought it would be like a nice little cozy reading spot. I completely forgot about that tower. It's like most of these towers, like I said, they're not like actually like useful in any way. I mean, there is like a computer in one and like a bookshelf in another, but really the only place that like you would need to go is for the computer, where this one is just a pantry. And I was like, okay, this is just a storage area. I was like considering this to be like a storage closet, but as a tower. And then you would go all the way upstairs to water your plants every day, which might be a nightmare to go up well, not two towers. Well, there are two towers for this, but you have to go up two ladders to water your plants, and you have to go back down two ladders to go up another ladder to water your other plants. That feels like a lot of work. And I barely even liked watering my own garden. So I feel like if I had this layout, I would just never want to water these plants. And the plants would not get a lot of sunlight anyway. Because there's like these tiny little windows in this like greenhouse, I guess. I mean, maybe the stained glass brings in enough light for the plants. Yeah, that would be kind of a nightmare to take care of. And like I was like, okay, I could really only have plants be in this tower as well because I've grass poking out from the roof and I didn't want to move any of the roof grass, so I just stuck with it. But yeah, these are all the screenshots now. That's really it. It's a pretty small build, but it kind of like works out, and the little like gazebo area too. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I think I'll have a 8 sim family home next week if I'm able to edit it all in time. I'm pretty sure I will. But yeah, thank you so much. Bye.